The story I'm about to tell you starts as an ordinary encounter, but quickly transforms into an incredible journey that changes a young man's life forever. As the first light of dawn illuminated the busy streets of Los Angeles, Keanu Reeves quietly pedaled his bike through the city. For him, it was just another morning ride. But as he turned a corner, something caught his eye. A young man sitting on the sidewalk, tired, hopeless, clutching nothing but a worn-out sketchbook. The words written on the cardboard sign in front of him made Keanu pause for a moment. A dreamer in search of help. At that moment, Keanu Reeves had a simple choice: keep riding or stop and listen to a stranger's story. But Keanu, as always, followed his heart. And that one small decision would set off a chain of events more powerful than he could have ever imagined. This story didn't just give a young man hope. It also uncovered a truth that even Keanu himself never saw coming. Stay until the end, because this is a story you won't forget. The sun rose over Los Angeles, casting a golden hue on its towering skyline. The city was a blend of glamour and struggle, where opportunities abounded but often seemed out of reach for those who needed them most. Among the bustling crowds of early risers was Keanu Reeves, an unassuming figure known for his humility and generosity. Dressed in his usual laid-back style, light gray chinos, a faded blue denim jacket, and a simple white t-shirt, Keanu pedaled his bike through the streets, enjoying the quiet moments before the city fully awakened. He stopped at a small cafe to grab his morning coffee, greeting the barista by name and leaving a generous tip. The streets of Los Angeles were still hushed, with only the faint hum of the city's distant energy. For a few moments, the chaos of everyday life seemed far away, and Keanu reveled in that rare peace before the city's pace picked up. As he turned onto a familiar street, something caught his eye. A young man sitting on the sidewalk near a graffiti-covered wall. The boy was thin, his face pale and tired, his clothes frayed at the edges. A cardboard sign leaned against his knees, reading, "Dreamer in need of help. Anything will make a difference." Keanu felt a pull in his chest. He was no stranger to hardship, having faced his share of personal tragedies. He knew what it meant to feel lost, to feel as though the world had turned its back on you. That feeling, one of being invisible, was something Keanu could deeply empathize with. His life had been full of ups and downs, but he had been lucky enough to have people who believed in him, who helped him rise when he was at his lowest. Today, he wanted to be that person for someone else. He parked his bike a few feet away and approached the boy, his footsteps soft but deliberate. He didn't want to startle him. He just wanted to be present. "Hey," Keanu said, crouching down to the boy's level. "Mind if I sit here?" The boy looked up, startled. His sunken eyes widened in recognition. You're Keanu Reeves," he stammered, clearly trying to process the sight of the famous actor standing before him in such an unexpected moment. Keanu smiled warmly, his demeanor always approachable. "Yeah, that's me. And you are?" "I'm Chris," the boy replied hesitantly. "But what are you doing here?" "Just out for a ride," Keanu said, gesturing to his bike. "But now I'm here, and I'd like to hear your story, if you're willing to share." Chris hesitated, glancing at his sign and then back at Keanu. Something about the actor's calm presence made him feel safe, something he hadn't felt in a long time. He began to speak, his voice low but steady, as though the words had been bottled up for years and were now being released for the first time. Chris explained how he had grown up in a small town in the Midwest, surrounded by fields and big dreams. Drawing had been his passion since childhood, and he'd always imagined a future as an animator or graphic artist. But life had taken a harsh turn. His father had passed away when he was 14, leaving his family struggling financially. By the time Chris turned 18, his mother's health had deteriorated, and their home was lost. In search of something better, he had made the difficult decision to leave everything behind and move to Los Angeles. He had thought it would be his chance to start fresh, to follow his dreams. "I thought coming to LA would be my chance," Chris said, his voice breaking. "I had my sketches, my dreams, but it's been so hard. No one takes you seriously when you're living on the streets. No one cares about your dreams when you don't have a roof over your head." Keanu listened intently, nodding occasionally. He could see the fire in Chris's eyes, dimmed but not extinguished. Chris still had the same determination that had brought him to LA, but it was buried under the weight of the struggles he had faced. "Do you still have your sketches?" Keanu asked, his voice gentle but curious. Chris nodded and pulled out a weathered sketchbook from his backpack. He handed it to Keanu, his hands trembling slightly, unsure of what the actor might think. Keanu flipped through the pages, his expression one of genuine admiration. The drawings were vibrant and full of life, each one telling a story. He saw fantastical creatures, intricate landscapes, and characters that seemed to leap off the page. It was clear that Chris had a raw talent, one that could be honed into something incredible with the right opportunities. "These are incredible, Chris," Keanu said, looking up from the sketchbook. "You've got serious talent." Chris blushed, his gaze dropping to the ground. "Thanks, but talent doesn't mean much when you're invisible, when no one even knows you're here, let alone cares about your work." Keanu's brow furrowed. "You're not invisible to me, and you shouldn't be to the world either." Keanu took out his phone and began making calls, his voice calm and confident as he spoke to various contacts in the art and entertainment industries. Chris sat there, stunned, as the actor seamlessly arranged a meeting for him with a prominent animation studio. "You've got an appointment tomorrow," Keanu said, slipping his phone back into his pocket with a smile. "We'll get you ready for it." Chris stared at him, disbelief etched on his face. "Why are you doing this for me?" Keanu shrugged, his gaze steady. "Because someone once believed in me when I needed it. Now it's my turn to pay it forward." The next day, Keanu picked Chris up in his car, both of them silent for a moment as they drove. Keanu could tell Chris was nervous, but the excitement was starting to show through too. They stopped at a thrift store where Keanu helped Chris pick out a clean shirt, a pair of slacks, and a jacket. "First impressions matter," Keanu said with a grin, though he was careful not to overwhelm Chris with too much advice. When they arrived at the studio, Chris was visibly nervous. His heart raced, and he could feel his palms sweating. Keanu placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. "Just be yourself," he said. "Your work speaks for itself." The meeting was a success. The studio director was so impressed with Chris's sketches that he offered him an internship on the spot. It was the break Chris had been waiting for, a lifeline to pull him out of the uncertainty that had surrounded him for so long. Over the next few months, Chris thrived. He learned new techniques, collaborated with professionals, and began building a portfolio that showcased his unique vision. His passion for animation had been reignited, and with it, a new sense of purpose. Keanu stayed in touch, occasionally stopping by the studio to check on Chris's progress. Their bond grew stronger, rooted in mutual respect and gratitude. Chris began to gain recognition for his work, and soon his art was featured in a gallery exhibition. He had come so far from that moment on the sidewalk, from the boy who had felt invisible to the artist who now had a voice in the world. At the opening night of the exhibition, Chris unveiled a piece titled "The Ripple Effect," dedicated to Keanu. The painting depicted a single drop of water creating ripples across a vast ocean, symbolizing how one act of kindness can change countless lives. It was a tribute not just to Keanu's help, but to the power of believing in someone when the world hadn't. Keanu, attending the event quietly, stood before the painting for a long moment. When Chris approached, Keanu turned to him and said, "You did this, Chris. I just gave you a little push." Chris smiled, his eyes glistening with tears. "I wouldn't be here without you. Thank you for seeing me when no one else did." Keanu pulled him into a hug. "Always believe in yourself. You've got something special to share with the world." Today, Chris is a renowned animator, his name appearing in the credits of blockbuster films and celebrated independent projects. He has found a place for himself, not just in the world of animation, but in the hearts of those who see his story as a testament to the power of kindness, persistence, and the belief that dreams can come true. And through it all, he continues to honor the moment a stranger saw his potential and gave him the chance to turn his dreams into reality.